Priyanka Sharma. She is here with us. So I would like to give a little brief about her. Priyanka Sharma is Head of Programs and Partnerships at Mobius Foundation. Prior to her role at Mobius, Priyanka served as Managing Director for a global investment banking platform leading growth strategy, finance and M&A for corporate, non-profit, private equity and venture capital clients. Priyanka holds an MBA from University of Oxford and a diploma in environmental law from WWF India. So now I would like to invite her to introduce this session and invite all the eminent panelists of this session. Please put your hands together for Ms. Priyanka Sharma.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for being here on day 2 after this very, very exciting session by Climate Realty Project. This is a befitting next step. Welcome to this critical and timely discussion, powering sustainable job creation with circular solutions, which combines the circular economy and green jobs, two pillars that must stand together if we are to build a sustainable and equitable future. The circular economy isn't just about reducing waste. It is about rethinking systems, redesigning livelihoods, and reinvesting in people. At its best, it creates opportunity, not just for the environment, but for local economies and communities, especially marginalized populations and in rural areas where small changes can make an outsized impact. And speaking of impact, I'm proud to now introduce to you a real-world example of circular economy principles in action, one that is very close to our hearts at Mobius Foundation, and fueled by Mr. Pradeep Burman's stewardship. In collaboration with the National Dairy Development Board Dairy Services and their network of milk producer companies, we've launched a household biogas program that is now rolling out 5,000 cow dung-based biogas plants across Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, and Maharashtra. This initiative does more than convert waste into clean energy. It lightens the load on forests, replaces fossil fuels, and improves household health. But perhaps most importantly, it empowers rural women and smallholder dairy farmers, turning them into climate champions and green job holders in their own right. So before we dive into today's discussion, let me take you through the heart of the project with a short 2-minute video that captures the lives, energy, and circular economy potential behind the numbers. But before we start the video, would just like to say, at the completion of this pilot phase of the program, we will be reaching 3 states, 40 districts, 1,600 villages, 5,000 rural women and dairy farmers and their families. We will manage 250 tons per day of organic waste, approximately 460,000 tons per year of methane captured, 10,000 meter cube per day of biogas generation, 285 LPG cylinders replaced per day, 14,000 tons per day of organic fertilizer production, which would have the potential to provide 3,500 acres per year of potential farm cover with organic fertilizer. I would just like the AV team to play a short video. much. And now for the very important discussion, I would like to invite Dr. Sudhir Shukla, who is the head of our think tank, Mr. Amit Verma, Director, Green Transition, Environment and Climate Change at the Niti Aayog, Government of India, Dr. Shelja Donempudi, Distinguished Scientist, Business Development Group at CSIR, New Delhi, Mr. P.S. Sodhi, Senior Director, CEE, Ahmedabad, Mr. Ramnath Vaidyanathan, AVP, Godrej Good and Green, Godrej Industries Group, Mumbai, and Dr. Rachna Arora, Director, Climate Change and Circular Economy at GIZ, Delhi.
Hello. Thank you, Ms. Priyanka, for a nice video and telling us about circular economy initiative we are doing. Good morning, distinguished guest, esteemed panelist, and dear participant. It's my privilege to welcome you all in this plenary, Powering Sustainable Jobs with Circular Economy Solutions. We meet today at a critical juncture. Our world is consuming resources at almost 1.7 times Earth can regenerate. So we are already exceeding the Earth's regenerative capacity. And India almost generates 1.5 lakh tons of municipal solid waste per day. At the same time, demand for sustainable livelihood is growing rapidly. Our conventional take, make, and use model, that is linear economy, is no way sustainable. So the solution is circular economy. The thing is, when we talk about circular economy, basically people think that just recycling is there, only recycling. Normally people think that circularity is only recycling. It is much more than that. Circular economy has different R's, people call 12 R's, like refuse, rethink, redesign, remanufacture, regenerate, and many. And this recycling is the last resort of circular economy. When we talk about green jobs, there is a market, there are opportunities. So there is another, just let me briefly bring some light. For green jobs, normally people believe that it's in renewable sector or in waste management, etc. Green jobs can be anywhere. Suppose one electrician who's doing electric wiring and fitting in our houses, he can also be skilled with green, green skilling he can be. And suppose if he's saving wires, he's using energy efficient wires and other instruments, that could be a green job. So basically in any sector, green job can be there, and green skilling is the skill which required to perform those jobs are the green skills. Okay, so in the today's session, we will explore how to unlock skills in basically circular economy based jobs. How can this science, business, policy based initiative and communities can participate to realize those green jobs, and also how policy framework can help. We are honored to have with us today distinguished set of panels from policy, from science, research, from education, from international organization, and also from the business. To set the stage of discussion, it's my honor to introduce our keynote speaker, Mr. Amit Verma. He is a director of green transition, environment, climate change at Niti Aayog. Mr. Verma is an IFS officer, and he has more than 20 years of experience in forest landscape, including challenging places like Corbett, Tiger Reserve. At Niti Aayog, he heads green transition, environment, climate change, economics, and finance vertical. He is an alumnus of IIT Bombay and IIM Bangalore. He is specialized in natural resource management, circular economy, and climate change. We welcome you, Mr. Verma. Now the floor is yours. Thank you. Please.
A very good morning to everyone present here, and thank you, Sudhir, for such a kind introduction. I think the topic of this conference is quite amazing, and most of the time we are talking about need for sustainability and how industry can engage, and focus is largely on the industrial side of it, but looking at the side of the youth, where the education is important, how do we skill, I think it's a very important topic, and I must congratulate you for that. Before we begin, I think it's important to set a bit of a context of why do we need green job and what the focus has been for the country. So just to begin, I think it's important to realize on how the top leadership of the country looks at circular economy. And if you've been following what our Honorable Prime Minister has been delivering in his own addresses, the first time we had a strong message from the top regarding circularity was in 21, when the Honorable Prime Minister messaged the whole bureaucracy through his speech on Independence Day on the importance of circular economy and creating circular economy mission. In fact, our first interaction with Dr. Sudhir was on that only, when he worked at NITI to create that mission and help NITI out on that. So there has been a very concerted effort in the government to look at those issues. Niti Aayog has been at the forefront of that, creating 11 reports in 11 different sectors on what nation should look at in terms of creation of a circular economy framework in the country. So that being said, that did not stop, the conversation did not stop there. If you have been following Man Ki Baat, I'm sure that there have been at least 4 or 5 episodes in which a focus has been on circular economy. So the point I'm trying to emphasize is that at the topmost level, there is a strong commitment in the country that circular economy is an important part of our discourse, and we must all focus and work towards that. In India, if you look at the landscape of policy, Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Change is the nodal ministry. They are the gatekeepers of EPA, Environment Protection Act, and the EPR framework, the Extended Producer Responsibility Framework, has been developed by them, which is an important lever right now in India for the circular economy framework in India. So that's the gatekeeper, but each of the ministries, because Ministry of Environment is only mandating certain laws and certain mandates for each of the industry, but the knowledge of the industry lies with the respective ministries themselves. So, for example, MITI, the Ministry for Electronics and IT, they have the core expertise for looking at how e-waste should be managed. Or for example, DCPC and DPIIT have core expertise on how do you look at industrial part of it, how do you look at automobiles, that MORTH has to manage that. So each of the sector has been given to the respective ministries as well. Steel is managed by Ministry of Steel, rest of the metals are managed by Ministry of Mines. So it's a collaborative effort in the government. There is a nodal ministry which deals with that subject. There's Ministry of Environment and Forest. There is Niti Aayog, which looks at the long-term policy. So combining all this is what constitutes the policy landscape in India for circularity. So for India, do we have a choice whether we look at circularity or not? I think that's a very important question, because as you have seen recently, you must have been following the news, especially the young people, on what the tariffs game which has been playing out for last some time. So there have been tariff barriers which have been created, and it definitely affects the economy, because no economy works in isolation, and there is a large amount of material which we import and large amount of material which we export, and that's how our forex coffers keep rejuvenating themselves. But there have been tariffs which are kind of trade barriers, but some countries have also come out with trade barriers which are non-tariff based, which are sustainability based. For example, if you look at CBAM, the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, in Europe, or the Green Deal which they have come out with, in which they have mandated certain circularity principles in the material which is imported to those countries. That creates a non-tariff barrier or a non-trade barrier for us, and to circumvent that, it's important for our own industry in the country to follow certain circularity principles. So there comes in the need of a workforce which understands what circularity would mean. It would mean different things for different materials. For example, in textile, it could mean taking fabric, the used fabric, and taking out fibers from them and reusing them in a certain construction. For e-waste, it may mean using the recycled content from the e-waste which has been processed. So there could be different areas which we have to look at. For each of the thing to track, we need passports of that particular product. So battery passports are now coming up. There's been talk on passports for textile itself. So there is certain expertise which is required to trace the material, how it is going, what are the life cycle analysis, what is the carbon footprint each of the step is creating, so that we can prove to the world that indeed our products are very sustainable and green in the true sense. So with that, I would say that it's not a choice for our country to be competitive across the world to not talk about circularity. So we need people who understand circularity, and we need a skill force which is expert in this area. So the third context I want to bring to the notice of the audience here is also about India's own commitments to the number of commitments which we have made to sustainability. So the topmost is, of course, the commitment which Honorable Prime Minister made about our country is going to be a net zero country by 2070. So 2070, though, may seem a very distant dream right now, but to steer an economy of the size of India with the 1/5 of the population of the world, it's a mammoth task. And considering that much of our development has not happened till now, and much of the construction and development and the increase in the incomes is going to happen in next 20 to 30 years, it's a very appropriate time for India to have a clear policy on how that sustainable journey is going to be. So in that also, NITI has taken a lead, and we have been doing a modeling for what different sectors would look like in our journey to 2070 and to be net zero by that time. So it's a complex modeling process where we have to look at all the economic aspects, how industry should move, how agriculture should move, how forests should be grown, so that the overall emissions from the country become zero by 2070. In that whole gamut of modeling, circular economy forms a very, very important part, because each of the virgin material which we mine, there's a lot of emission. And if we are able to circulate our materials which are already there, especially those materials which are not found in India in general, like lithium, and most of the materials which are going to be used in the technologies of the future, especially the green technologies, are not there in large quantities in India. So whatever gets imported must not be wasted and must be reutilized. I think that's a very important part of it. Beyond net zero, we have, at the shorter term, we have NDC's commitment, the national determined contributions, which we have to give for every 5 years. And I must, I'm elated to share with you that India has been one of the very important leaders in this, and it is probably the only G20 country which has overachieved its stated targets, especially on solar energy achievement. So I think that's a great commitment by a country which is still developing, where the average per capita income is still $2,500 as compared to what other Western world has, to which is more than $14,000 per person. So even with that kind of developmental needs, we are able to meet those targets. I think that's a great achievement by it. India has also focused a lot on international diplomacy in this, so creation of International Solar Alliance or the Biofuel Alliance, which we are part of, and also the international programs which happen in India, like World Circular Economy Forum is going to be held next year in India. I think these are all the important steps to bring this whole gamut of complex ideas of circularity together to feed into policy, to prepare the people of the country to understand this. India's own commitment to Mission Life, which is an international program now launched by our Honorable Prime Minister, which emphasizes on the typical Indian lifestyle, which is not consumption based, but there's a lot of circularity inbuilt in our culture itself, which can definitely be an important learning point for the rest of the world. Giving this background, I think we also need to look at on how the skilling part is now coming up in India. As you might be aware that Niti Aayog is the only platform where all the Honorable Prime Minister and all the Chief Ministers of the country meet together to discuss the developmental problems of the country. So that's the only platform where all of them meet together and discuss. So precursor to that is a Chief Secretaries Conference in which all the Chief Secretaries meet to fine-tune the agenda for how these developmental cycles should move ahead. So in the last Chief Secretary Conference, skilling for circular economy was one of the topics among the 5 topics which were selected. So you can understand the importance of this topic, that we do recognize the need of skilling for the green sectors as a very, very important topic. And many of the institutions in India are working towards that. A few of the notable institutions I would like to name is CMAT in Hyderabad, which has been working a lot on e-waste circularity. And they've been working with MSMEs and small players and developing technologies which is cheap and effective and which can be utilized by organizations which are very small in size. We need a lot of workforce in our own solid waste management. I think each of the cities we visit, we see huge garbage dumps. There are people who don't understand how to manage that, how do you operate a waste to energy plant, how do you segregate waste. I think these are the areas which are very, very important. There are many estimates. I would not like to throw many numbers at you, but of course we think that about 30 to 35 lakhs jobs can be created by 2030 in the area of circular economy. So these areas are very, very important. One thing which I like to emphasize here is that circularity in isolation means nothing at all. Like Mr. Sudhir just said that there are many hours. So some people say there are 4 hours, some people say there are 9 hours, some people also talk about 12 hours. So these hours are the various aspects on the production, in the production cycle of a material, or a product. So you start with the design phase. There itself, if you don't implement the circularity principles, then the product becomes very non-recyclable and you can't apply sustainability principles. So we can't have people experts in circularity separately. It has to be integrated in the curriculum of what we do. So for example, the design schools, schools like IDC, Industrial Design Center and others, we have to make sure that the designers themselves are aware of what circularity principles are, so that if they are designing a car or a phone or a TV, they should be able to design in a way where we can actually implement the repairability principles or the circularity principles very well into it. Similarly, in engineering schools, what materials to use? Can we use materials with less impact when we are creating a product? All these important things have to be taught while they are being taught in the colleges. Similarly, in management schools, while the economic side of circularity is not very evident, if you don't have much knowledge of it, but it brings a lot of upside to your business as well. Can you integrate in your management school itself that the people who are coming out of this and who are going to be future managers in the corporates, they understand what circularity would mean and how that can add value to their businesses. Similarly, in policy schools, people like us who make policy for the country, I think that understanding of the importance of circularity is very important. So when I talk about green jobs, while there are certain jobs at the level of probably IITs, ITIs, where we can train people to do certain aspects of running these circular economy-based industries, but I think the larger problem to solve is to integrate the circular economy principles into and embedding them into our regular curriculums in each of the fields. So with that, I would like to conclude by just highlighting few of the important things which India has done. I briefly mentioned extended producer responsibility, which India has been following to encourage industry to bring in circularity in their own business models. So extended producer responsibility, as the name suggests, mandates the producer itself to ensure that the recycling of the products which they have profited from, they contribute to the recycling of that. So for each of the products which is made, the corporate which has made it is made responsible to buy certain EPR credits from the recyclers, so the financial viability of those recyclers improve. Similarly, we have also come out with carbon market recently. India has, in the last visit to Japan by our Honorable Prime Minister, we did enter into an agreement with Japan on carbon market, and the pricing of carbon in Japan is fairly good. So there again, because each of the recycling effort results in saving of the carbon, so there is a lot of opportunity for the Indian recyclers to gain from the carbon credit market, which is getting developed in the country. There has been recent announcement of the critical mineral mission, in which government has committed a huge amount, about 1,500 crores, just for the industry who would be dealing with the critical minerals. And I think it's important for the recyclers and others to understand these. There have been other initiatives at the state level. For example, Gujarat has recently come out with a policy for recycling tires. Rajasthan has come out with a policy for recycling parks. Tamil Nadu also has a lot of focus on recycling of textiles. So each of the states have also done exemplary work in different sectors. And in Niti's own commitment to bringing that cooperative federalism, we have a state support mission in which we pick up these best practices and propagate them to other states. And all of this cannot function without the strong support of the industry. At the end of the day, we can only give directions and probably steer the industry into the right kind of thinking. But unless there is a demand created by the industry themselves, through making sure that the consumers are educated about the benefits of sustainability and also about improving their own processes of sustainability, none of this is going to work. So I think the role of the industry is very important in this as well. So with this, my message to the young people here would be that don't think of a circular economy as a separate work stream. I think it has to be embedded in whatever you do, also as a consumer when you consume, also as a producer, as part of the workforce whenever you do, in whichever role you play. I think there is an aspect of circular economy which you can bring in and add value to the country. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Hello. Thank you, Mr. Verma, for this comprehensive and insightful keynote. You covered very important points, like circularity is not an option for India. It's not for anybody. It's a compulsion. For also highlighting carbon border and what India is doing, what collaboration we need, and how it should be embedded into the courses. Thank you, Mr. Verma. Now, let's move to our panelists. Let me introduce one by one. Dr. Shailja, she's a Chief Scientist and Chair, Business Development Research Management, CSIR, Hyderabad. Dr. Shailja is a distinguished polymer scientist with around 28 years of research and leadership experience. She has supervised several doctoral master research students, published extensively. She has successfully transformed key technologies to industries, and she is recipient of CSIR DART Fellowship. She is recognized for bridging research, innovation, and industry partnership. Welcome, Dr. Shailja. We have with us Mr. P.S. Sodhi. He has around more than 43 years of experience. He is a legend in circular economy, you may call. He is currently serving as a Senior Program Director, Circular Economy, Center for Environment Education. He has previously had UNDP Circular Economy. Mr. Sodhi is a member of Waste to Wealth Mission under Principal Scientific Advisor, Board Member of MRAI, and he has been in all 11 committees of Niti Aayog for designing circular economy. He was part of CPCB MOFCC committee for drafting India's EPR policy. Internationally also he is a part of UN Global Plastic Team. So recently plastic treaty couldn't succeed, but he was part of that. We have industry representative, Mr. Ramnath Vaidyanathan. Mr. Ramnath Vaidyanathan is Associate Vice President, Good and Green at Godrej Industries Group, where he drives sustainability goals of net zero, net carbon, zero waste, with around 2 decades of global experience in environment, energy, water. He holds MBA from ISB Hyderabad and Masters in Environmental Science from Stanford NTU, Singapore. Welcome, Mr. Ramnath. Dr. Rachna Arora, we have with us. She is a Director of Climate Change Circular Economy at GIZ, where she leads initiatives on resource efficiency, circular economy, and marine litter project. She is PhD in environmental chemistry from IIT Roorkee, and she has been one of the crusaders in circular economy landscape in India, you can say. She is in Interdepartmental Committee on Resource Efficiency, Niti Aayog, Sectoral Committee on Circular Economy, Ministry of Electronics, Information Technology, MOHUA also, and she is working group member of FICCI, and she is a member of ILO and World Bank, which is advising for green jobs. Welcome, Dr. Rachna. So, to start the panel, let me ask one common question to all the panelists. India stands at an intersection of two powerful forces. One is growing young workforce and urgent need of circular economy model, as Mr. Verma just explained basically, with the estimate suggesting that circular economy can generate millions of jobs globally. How can India harness this opportunity to turn its demographic dividend into the driver of green and inclusive employment? If I may ask Dr. Shailja first.
Very good morning, everyone. This is a pleasant morning, I would say. And thank you, Shukla ji, for giving such a good question to all of us. And more importantly, I have to thank the Mobius Foundation for bringing such eminent panelists together so that, we can together make some difference. I'll tell you why I started with that. The question is very nice, and in green jobs creation in the area of circular economy, I have two-pronged approach. One, look at where they can contribute as an employee and try to be a green job worker, which is towards a solution of circular economy. But I would say that the other second approach is, why can't we create entrepreneurs who actually can start an enterprise which is into circular economy, that drives in so much multiplied workforce requirement in that green job area. That is how I feel is it can be more impactful. So the number of employability enhancement in green jobs versus an enterprise creation for the green jobs in a particular solution which is coming up through a green technology. This is what I mean to say. So they will be actually job givers rather than job seekers. Why is it that I'm telling you this is because we as an R&D organization at CSIR, we come up with not just waste valorization technologies that are being popularized. For example, the kitchen waste conversion into biogas has actually is a circular economy solution, but then because of this particular solution being given to more than 10 licensees, you have plants everywhere which is based on the high rate biomethanation technology. And Honorable Prime Minister himself mentioned in his Mann Ki Baat about the Bovanpalli campus where in Hyderabad you have such a solution. So that is giving jobs to right from the blue-collared workers who convert the waste coming from the market waste, and then it is being recycled, and it goes into, in most of the Akshaya Patra foundations where we deployed this, it generates 6 cylinders of LPG out of the 12 cylinders they would use in a day for cooking the meal. So from the kitchen waste, it is completely circular. This is the kind of technologies India needs. And when you said municipal solid waste is of 35 lakh tons per annum, you see this is how we come into picture as an R&D organization giving solutions which are a holistic integrated solution of from plastic segregator to conversion of that plastic separately into pyrolysis and an oil, and the biomass or the kitchen waste conversion into a biogas, and also the rest of the biomass conversion into soil conditioner. This is how LCA, when you're talking about life cycle assessment or analysis, the whole of the waste should go and get valorized, and such kind of enterprises are going to give you the more greener jobs than the regular application as an employment seeking opportunity for the youngsters. So that's my proposition as a circular economy model, to ask them to be more entrepreneurs in this area rather than just look for employment. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shalja. Yeah, it's true. We need to be job providers rather than asking for jobs. And for highlighting that, circular economy solutions are not rocket science. They are very simple. You can start from your kitchen, you can start from your house. So thank you for that. May I ask Mr. Sodhi the same question?
Firstly, thank you for the kind words, please. Much appreciated. Barman Saab, namaskar. Every time I come here, I see it very infectious, this program of yours, and thanks to all of your colleagues for putting it together. The question, it was lovely to see the 2-minute film which you were echoing. And what I want to really start is that circular economy is all about, if you start thinking, everybody, all stakeholders, if you start thinking on what we are producing, what we are consuming, and how we are consuming, and what we are disposing, and how we are disposing. So the production, consumption, and disposal systems, if we start acting upon them and thinking upon them, then we are going to be more circular in our own thoughts. It's not something which you can teach anybody. Let me begin to give you a very practical example. You know, Rachna is there and Mr. Amit is there. We have been involved in setting up MRFs, material recycling and material recovery facilities for solid waste management, which includes organic and dry and wet waste. So for dry waste handling, all non-biodegradables, when we are constructing these MRFs, I was very keenly, very interested that the MRFs mein na C&D waste dalni chahiye. Much before the circular economy, issues of C&D waste came on, which is about 2 years old. So every time we were constructing this, I was talking, yaar, fly ash bricks use karo, plywood dusri use karo, ye wala kaam aise karo. Why are we not using for filling? You are breaking new bricks. Why don't we take the old bricks which are lying here and there? And why don't we do it? It was never happening. Then what I said was that, yaar, probably tender jo dene hai na, un tender mein terms sari theek karni padegi. और वो ठीक करके हमें लोगों को बताना पड़ेगा कि ये जो बना रहे हैं ना, उनको बताना पड़ेगा, देखिए तेरे को करना ही है. So what I'm trying to do is, there are young people sitting here, and I'll mix up Hindi and English, कि आपको ये समझना पड़ेगा सर्कुलर इकोनॉमी हमारे साथ डेली चल रही है, जैसे आपने भी बोला. तो we have to see how we are making this to better jobs and a better investment, and how we are taking the product life cycle or the product, extended product life of a particular product. तो वो हमें सबको सोचना पड़ेगा. मैं एक और आपको example देता हूँ, and then I'll sort of 2-3 things which I want to say. You know, when we were working in Delhi, when I was in UNDP and thereafter in Center for Environment Education, I've been involved in various CSR initiatives of constructing MRFs and making people and public a part of the show. So we said कि RWAs हैं, बहुत सारे लोग हैं, तो इसमें repair camps करते हैं यार. लोग क्यों नहीं कचरा अलग कर रहे? So we said, okay, we will keep 5 different people at your doorstep, which will be free. So what we did was, we said कि cobbler को ले आते हैं, लोगों के घर में जूते पड़े हैं, वो ठीक कराने नहीं जाते हैं, time नहीं मिलता है. तो नया जूता खरीद लेते हैं, एक बैग पड़ा है टूटा हुआ है उसको ठीक कराना है। एक पुराने ज़माने में हमारे पास बर्मन साहब को याद होगा और पास में बैठे हैं उनके डायरेक्टर साहब, कि जब हम पुराने ज़माने थे ना, जो छुरी वगैरह होती थी अपनी, you know, knives and all, we used to get them sharpened, and there used to be a person coming. In my youth I've seen that and I've done it. So we keep that knife sharpener also there. We keep a tailor there for having. We used to keep these 5 people. It used to cost us about 7,500. आज भी 1,000-1,500 रुपये उनको देते हैं, और ये सारा बड़ा प्लान्ड सिस्टम होता है, और हम सारे रेजिडेंट्स को बोलते हैं ये सारा इनका खाना पीना आपको करना पड़ेगा. And you have to place 5 bins separately where we have to do separation, and your Safai Sathi who is coming has to be a part of the show. You would not believe people go there, get there repaired, and the person is supposed to sign a pledge, and sign a pledge that he is going to make sure that you do the segregation at the doorstep, that is your house, and how it needs to be kept. What are those 5 segregation? Anyway, dry, wet, electronic, household hazardous, sanitary waste, keep them separately so that, and the Safai Sathi is also to be trained. And मुझे एक सफाई साथी कहता था, सर क्या हम अपने जूते ले आए ठीक कराने के लिए? मैंने कहा ले आए यार, तू भी पार्ट ऑफ द शो है, उसमें क्या दिक्कत है? So, you know, these are the skills that we have to bring and ingrain. And I'll take a last example, one more. You know, this topic is sustainability education. And our repair campaigns are a fantastic partnership with the communities of practice, and many other which we do, but I'll not spell everything. But I want to emphasize on the sustainability education, and Ram has been talking very much over the last 1 year, 2 years, and in bringing how we bring the sustainability. I personally feel, sir, and my request goes to you, sir, Niti Aayog is one of the leading institutions and a policy maker. You set the tone of circular economy in India by bringing in those 11 committees and more than 200 meetings in a 1 year period, and bringing up those reports. And many of the reports are there lying in the shelves of people. How do we really disintegrate them? I think so we need to partner with some of the educational institutions in really bringing the updating syllabus of the real world and real-time circular economy practices, sir. If we do not do that, these children will be, this young youth which is coming, or Gen Z and so forth, will not be able to pick up what is in the mind of the policymakers, and we will be left with fighting how the eco-design system, how the product service, how the reuse systems, and how the applied learning is going to have. Very little institutions are making investments in the apprenticeship and the internship programs for institutions. I take more than 20 interns every year, and I pay them 10,000 rupees. Why cannot we pay them 10,000 rupees? And they are fantastic people. 6 months they want to do it. I think so there has to be an investment made into how the internship and the research PhDs need to be brought into a partnership program through NITI, sir. My request to you, I'll close it here.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sodhi, for your detailed opening remark. And also, it's very important to focus on consumption pattern. I don't want to go to detail considering the time limit, but youth must focus on consumption. If you don't know, read. Focus on consumption. Don't over-consume. Youth, this is our request to youth is. So moving to another panelist, Mr. Ram, be brief, maybe two.
Sure. No, I think it's easy for me to be brief because my eminent panelists have covered quite a lot of things that I really wanted to speak about. But from the corporate perspective, business perspective, I think first we need to demystify this entire idea of green jobs, firstly, because the two things, the two perspectives, and I'm very glad to hear you say green entrepreneurship, because I don't know how many people here saw the movie The Social Network, but there's a very famous line where the dean of Harvard says, there's nothing Harvard students like better than inventing new jobs rather than taking up new jobs. So there are two ways in which you can look at green jobs. There is, or green skilling. You look inwards within the organization to say, how do I upskill various functions? And why I say we need to demystify it, it's no longer a sort of, it doesn't exist at the fringes of the organization. It's very much front and center to all roles. Now, you can't be a chief procurement officer today without understanding green procurement. You cannot be an R&D scientist today without understanding sustainability. You cannot be a marketing person without understanding how to market sustainability, because your consumers are changing and demanding that. So, controversially maybe, but in 10 years, I see my role being redundant. I don't think you need a chief sustainability officer in 10 years, because every single role will have some element of sustainability built into it. Now, that's within the organization. The really interesting area and where the gaps and opportunities really lie are in the value chains of organizations. And that's where green entrepreneurs have a very, very big role to play. Mr. Sudhir, I'd like to disagree with you slightly when you say it's not rocket science, because yes, there are many sectors where the solutions are there, where, like Mr. Sudhir said, all you need is investment to really unlock some of these supply chains. Very simple example in India is the agri-economy. Circularity in the agri-economy is, the potential is incredible. We've not even scratched the surface when it comes to it. We talk about the stubble burning problem, and there's a very easy solution to convert a lot of that into very useful fuel, biochar, lots of other byproducts. But who's going to invest in those supply chains? That's the big question. But there are other sectors in industrial circularity where green entrepreneurship requires a lot more investment, fundamental research and innovation. But not a lot of chemical recycling is very easily understood. And there is a lot of research required in this. Now, plastics itself, while India has some of the most stringent plastic regulations in the world, and that's a great thing for us, there are a lot of still gaps in the fundamental science of it. Like, we've still not understood recycling technologies and which is the best one. We're still looking at mechanical recycling, and we don't know in a few years what the impact that will have on, say, product quality. We've not understood chemical recycling. We've not understood circular elements of what happens when you introduce chemical recycling. Will we need ATPs for all the chemical recyclers? How is that waste stream going to be handled? Fundamentally, how are you going to reduce the load of virgin plastic consumption? So there are a lot of gaps, and that for me is not a bad thing. It's a very good thing. That means there's a lot of opportunities for innovation. So where, I'll come up to the Godrej examples in the subsequent question. I don't want to dwell too much on that. But what is really interesting, and I've noted down a few points in this, is there are certain sectors that are very advanced on this. Like real estate, I would say, is actually a leader in this space, because circular economy principles are fundamentally inbuilt into it, and like Mr. Sodhi said, it's been codified. A green building has to have a certain amount of recycled material in it. So this codification for different sectors is really important. And you have to insist that a premium value, whether in terms of discounts to the customers or a premium value to the customer, is attached to a certain circularity element of that product. Now, for a vehicle today, we think of a second-hand vehicle as an inferior choice. But for me, if you can incentivize vehicles which are using more circular economy principles and circular components to it, by giving some sort of tax rebates or discounts or any such mechanisms, that is a way of pushing a greener product into the ecosystem. I'll stop for now, but I think there are a lot of other Godrej specifics I'll address in the next question.
Thank you, Mr. Ram, for highlighting importance of upskilling, investment, and incentivization. Thank you. Dr. Rachna.
Thanks, Sudhir. And I think being a last speaker is always good because all the points have already been said. But I think the job is also very difficult because I see a very mixed audience here. So it's not easy for us to really unbundle or unlock the topic of circular economy and actually address to students who are sitting here, and I don't know how much understanding they're getting of this topic, and of course a very, very informed audience. So it's not easy, Sudhir. I think we'll try our best to kind of talk about, at least I would first start with the students, because I really think that's a really good job that Mobius Foundation has actually done to get the young students into it, because we really talk about sustainability, and I think all the people sitting here on the panel would have actually studied environmental sciences or environmental engineering maybe 20 years back, right? So which means we stepped into this domain quite some years back, and I think for all of us to actually reflect on how much we have seen the entire transition and need to circular economy is definite, or even to sustainability, is definitely a space where I've seen of course IITs and IIMs looking into it, but also I would say academic institutes. No? A lot of them are actually looking at what are those specific case studies, what are the scenarios, how do you look at data. So there's a lot of progress around this space as I see in the last 20 years. As GIZ, as a German international corporation, what we do and what I feel is, as a bilateral organization, at least we have a lot of projects which are on green skilling, which are on, because Germany had a long partnership, especially also with India, and mainly we work around 150 countries, multiple areas where we worked on vocational education and training. So that's a big area where Germany as a country is pretty much active. But when it comes to circular economy, and again I will start with the global discourse, this World Bank or circular economy study, it's actually about to come out just quite soon, next month. So I will not disclose the numbers and figures from that report. But definitely it brings out the entire unlocking potential that this entire topic of circular economy has, where we look at only 5% currently contribution to the global economy by circular economy related jobs. Now when it comes to circular economy, so this was a little bit, I would say, gyan for the community who understands it, but for the students, I would really like to ask some of you, or maybe all of you, do you have a mobile phone, right? Most of you have a mobile phone with you, right? If it comes to a mobile phone, and I will just take now whatever every other panelist has actually spoken about, there is a manufacturing stage to a mobile phone. Your mobile phone comprises of an electronic to a plastic to different components that go into. And when it comes to its design, of course there are engineers who are looking at designing it. But before you go to a design stage, there is a stage of extraction. There are people who are involved on extraction, and that's what I think Niti Aayog and Ministry of Environment actually see. And this entire critical resource mission is about India doesn't have access to any of these resources. Tantalum in your mobile phone is there, and it's actually going to end in 4 years. There's no tantalum available on this earth. But you have in your mobile phones, which is where it is a good source to recover tantalum, gold, palladium, platinum, and even the plastics, which is 40% of a television to a refrigerator is actually plastics, which has a high potential of recovery. So one set of jobs are actually on recycling, and that I think everyone has actually spoken about. The other set is also about design. So if you want to be an engineer, a huge space to talk about. The other complexity is the AI solutions that are coming into, right? The digital space about using these applications. Someone spoke about consumption being a challenge. So the point is, the Ministry of Environment has now put up policies which actually looks at extended producer responsibility. So if you have an Apple phone, if you have a Samsung phone, each and every company today is responsible to take that phone back out of the market after it's 10 years, 8 years, or 2 years, whichever. Now iPhone 17, so maybe you all want to buy now a new iPhone. But the point is, there are materials which are embedded, and we don't want to waste that. And that's what our waste to wealth mission and multiple other things that the government is trying to do. So there are innumerous jobs around it. We all need to be innovative, and we really need to think about. And I think as we heard Ramna talk about, even these corporates, we had actually not thought about jobs across the social space, social scientists. No? Everyone looks at where are those social scientists who can actually see and relate. This is what it comes when it comes to bundling jobs, occupations, working with the informal sector. It's not easy. How many of us understand Kabadiwala and his perspective to waste management? And no one of you would like to get trained to talk to a Kabadiwala. But that is a skill maybe companies would actually require, because they really want to enhance that skill set of reaching down to the bottom, as well as having an entire approach that brings this entire value chain into the right stream. So I think that's a full, little bit I tried to address the unbundling of the circular economy job space, and maybe I think people can relate a little to it. So yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Rachna, for insightful discussion. Now let's move to Dr. Shailja again. Actually, when we are moving towards circular economy, we are reducing the production, resource-intensive production, closing landfills, and those kind of initiative where we are cutting down the processes. So there are concerns that the jobs which are lost due to circular economy initiatives, how can we create new jobs to compensate those jobs?
I think it's, the answer is in your question itself. Because while there is an improvisation and a systemic change that we are bringing in, there's another door opening which is creating jobs too, which of course requires a different kind of skilling. So we have to be prepared with that kind of a skilling, be it an upskilling or reskilling or some kind of a progressive skilling as per the requirement for those jobs which they have to reorient and refurbish themselves with those skills. So that's not an issue, because even with AI, ML coming in and everyone keeps talking about their jobs are being replaced. It doesn't happen. When you have one door closed, there are 10 doors opened, I would say. So that's not a threat at all. But what's very important is how many such more opportunities are created. That is where I said that not only we are looking at waste valorization and trying to bring in such kind of enterprises which the corporate sector also is talking about, but all the stakeholders are working towards this particular solution. And I feel that when these stakeholders join hands together and work, certainly we can make a huge difference. Now we are working very closely with Ministry of MSME to put our technological solutions on a platform which is G2B, and that can have an ease of access to all the MSMEs, where the solutions are there at a click of a button. We're not using the digital technology as much as needed, and we are not also having a dialogue like this until and unless someone invites us and we talk and we forget and we go and keep engrossed in our day-to-day activities. But then how much of actionables are we taking forward together is even more important than just the talk. So if we really are having this intention of making a difference, I feel that be it for the jobs, for the students, or for the nation building, where we are talking about those targets, what we have as a zero, climate change with the zero targets in 2070, we have something for 2030 and 2040 and so on and so forth. So we are working very seriously on the CCUS mission. We are working seriously on the waste valorization mission. We are also into e-waste and metal waste along with cement solutions, what you have mentioned. We are working with Ministry of Mines for the mining tailings valorization. So everywhere we are there, and we are trying to work, everyone is working in silos. That's what I want to emphasize today. So if we can really come together and formulate a systemic plan of how we can arrive at an industrial change, come automatically that embeds the skilled workforce requirement. So you would create green jobs indirectly while you are trying to put in the circular economy solutions which need to be embraced by the industry. So the academia, the research institutions, the policy makers, you have really put very well the speakers, I would say the panelists, and then the skilling. So if we all try to formulate a very important, in a structured manner, certain SOPs, I think we can make it happen, and all of them will have many more jobs than what it is as a playground for them now.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Shalja. Let me ask Mr. Sodhi. NGOs and educational institutes are very close to the society. What kind of role they can play to bring youth and women with the skill necessary for these green jobs, circular jobs? Sir, I request you to be a little brief. Thank you, because
okay, I'll be very brief. Your question, you see, NGOs are working on two fronts. Most of the NGOs are engaged to remain afloat. You see, they are working on grants, or they are working for government, and they are working for a very purpose for what the donor or the person who is trying to address that. They have very little lineage to really go across. So I think so that's a little difficult situation for them to really strongly address, unless and until the donor is very sensitive about it. And yes, they can intervene policy. Sorry if I'm being a little different to what people think, but because they want to remain afloat, they want to keep getting more grants. But at the same time, I think so there are NGOs who are also trying to put emphasis to the policies which are being floated. I think so I really feel that in 2015 there was nothing a talk on circular economy till Niti Aayog really came up with this concept of 11 sector committees. And we had in 1 year 150 meetings, and in that NGOs were also a part of the show. Congratulations to you, sir, and your predecessors, who have been really making a wide spectrum of people to be a part of it. And I think so, they can, the NGOs need to be now further made a part of these policy issues. Say, for example, we are in Bureau of Standards, BIS. Now, the labeling is a very big issue on various things. We know we buy consumer products, labeling is there, everything. But when we are going for out of the picture of those consumption products, like for example, we are setting more than 2,000 MRFs, material recovery facilities in the country. We have already set up both through the Jal Shakti Ministry and through the MOA, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. There is no standard guideline on the layout and plans for how the machineries and how they need to be placed. What are the safety measures which need to be taken care of? Machines are being put, लगा दे यार machine, अपने पास 15 लाख है, इसको 2 लाख में ये खरीद ले, 10 लाख इसको कर दे. There have to be standards, so we have been pushing forward. So NGOs can play a very big role. I'll close it down. NGOs can play a very big role if they are brought into the midstream of how to maintain the issues which need to be addressed through the policy.
Thank you, sir. Let me move to Dr. Rachna. There are concerns with rag pickers, informal workers. They are very important part of our value chain. But we think that if we formalize them, or maybe we are bringing formal system, we will push them out of the value chain. So in your opinion, what strategies can help to integrate them into formal circular economy chain by improving their livelihood and social security? In brief, ma'am, please.
Sure. Thanks, Sudhir, and I'll also try to be brief. I think at least over the last few years, the government clearly recognizes the need to formalize the informal sector. And when we say informal, we're largely talking about, again, multiple tiers of people who are involved in the entire waste valorization, as you're saying, but also around the entire waste value chain. No? So basically, the door-to-door kabadiwalas who are, and the entire set of aggregators, that's one area where, of course, the government has, for instance, is a Namaste scheme, that entire program that looks at. And we have, I would say we also have very fascinating, successful models. Trivandrum or Kerala as a state has a model which is about women, again, entrepreneurship, but also providing jobs. Again, Pune, Ambikapur, several cities which have now these models which are also considered. I remember even in this Chief Secretary's workshop that Mr. Verma just referred, last year organized by the Ministry of Environment as well in those specific sessions. So definitely the role is recognized, also programs running. But the other major component, which I would say is formal or semi-formal or informal as well as is the MSME space, where when you really look at large scale or the investments in technologies, there of course the entire upgradation, access to these schemes which is pretty much missing. SIDBI has a lot of programs around the technology investments, but also in terms of upgrading the informal sector or the MSMEs to transition to this. So I think that's a big area. And again, from the job opportunity, in fact, very recently, again, a lot of discussion that comes around these future-ready skills is actually about people who understand the nexus between climate, resources, and also energy deployment or energy solutions, because then you can really look at that entire tangible approach about R&D, municipal bonds to sustainable financing. So that's another big area where it's again not just for an economist, but also again different set of skills which are required on the entire future-ready jobs, as I say. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Rachna. Let me go to Mr. Vaidyanathan. Since you're coming from corporate, if you have to prioritize one action to accelerate circular economy-based green job in your organization, what would it be?
Bringing it down to just one thing is very, very difficult, but I think I want to stress on the term value, because I think where circularity really fails is we don't accurately assign value to what comes in and out of the circular economy. It's very simple as that, because let's just take water as an example, because I don't want to spend too much time on this, but why should somebody care about recycling water from a pure financial perspective? Today, water is not priced correctly. So the way you do that is by ascribing the true value to something, is when you start seeing development and work and innovation happening towards that. When you start understanding that the value of water is not in the cost of it, but what happens in the absence of it, in terms of loss of production, loss of lives, loss of jobs, then you start ascribing true value to it, and that's when you start seeing innovation. So what's really worked for us at Godrej is really identifying the true value of every single material, every single resource we use, and that incentivizes further investments and innovation in that area.
Thank you, Mr. Ram. Let me request Mr. Verma to make a final comment.
Thank you so much, and I think it was a privilege to be part of this panel with very, very important points which have been brought out. I think the focus on entrepreneurship, the traditional lifestyles, and the policy which can play an important role, as Mr. Sodhi said about green procurement. I think these are very important levers. The circular economy, education itself, which was talked about, the green jobs, which Mr. Ramanathan told about. Some jobs which are inside part of the corporates themselves, and there are jobs outside which are part of the value chain. The codification of green was also one of the very important aspects which was brought out, and very recently explained by Dr. Rachna to the gamut of audience here, because the needs of the different audience are different, and I think that connection with the youth here was also very important. So I think it was a great panel discussion, and the topic was very interesting, as I said in my initial keynote also. There are a couple of things which I also want to highlight is about, when we talk about circularity, it's also important to talk about the economics part of it. While certain sustainability aspects seems to be important, but it will not happen unless there is money on the table. You can't expect a corporate to cut their bottom line for circularity. So therein lies the importance of research, where we can develop technologies which are cheaper than the technologies which use virgin materials. I think that's going to be very, very important aspect in creating an economic model where you don't lose money while you're doing that. So that waste to wealth jargon should actually be true in its true sense, otherwise circularity doesn't work. The other part I wanted to highlight was that which was talked about the change in the nature of the jobs. Today, the two important fields in the world are AI and sustainability, and they're both very, very important, and both of them are going to bring about a tremendous amount of change in the society, and both of them require reskilling by the youth, by the existing workforce, and for the youth to be very, very flexible in their approach towards skilling. It's also part of the just transition. When we talk about climate impacts, we need to make sure that the workforce which is trained in a certain way and which is likely to lose job is transitioned into something else, so that there is a justice for them and they are able to continue their livelihoods. And I think both of them are very, very challenging. And just few days back, Niti Aayog had released a report on AI and for Viksit Bharat, which our Honorable Finance Minister and the Minister for IT had released. I think this was brought very clearly that they cannot be going back on these aspects. These developments will come. It's us who has to be ready for these changes which are about to come. The last of it was about the breaking the silos for the skill job. I think that's also a very important aspect. And there are no silos, so to say, every of the job has to assimilate, I would say, both AI and sustainability as we go forward, because they are going to be very, very horizontal cross-cutting features in times to come. Once again, I would congratulate Dr. Sudhi to have conducted this session, and thank you for all the panelists for sharing their thoughts, which was very, very insightful for me as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Verma, for nicely summarizing the discussion. On behalf of Mobius Foundation, I extend my deepest thanks to our keynote speaker, Mr. Verma, our panelists, Dr. Shailja, Mr. Sodhi, Mr. Ramnath, and Dr. Rachna for this insightful discussion. Let me end this session by one Sanskrit slok. Prathivyam sanrakshane nityam jivanam vartet shubham harit karmasu sanyuktam bhavatu lok mangalam, which means through constant protection of the earth, life flourishes. By embracing green work, may the world attain well-being. With this, we conclude this plenary. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. It was indeed a wonderful session. I request you to please take a step forward for a group photo up. May we have our camera person over here. And I request Ms. Priyanka Sharma also to please join on the stage for the photo up. And now we would like to felicitate also all these eminent panelists who have been here. And they have made it indeed a wonderful, wonderful session. So I would like to request Poonam Pariharji from Mobius Foundation to please come on the stage and felicitate all these eminent panelists. So may we please have the mementos on the stage. Yeah, please. So firstly, let us start with Ms. Priyanka Sharma. So we would like to present this memento to you. You have indeed given a wonderful introduction of this session and the panelists over here. Dr. Sudhir Shukla, this is for you. Mr. Amit Verma, here is a remembrance from our side to you, sir. Dr. Shelja, this is for you, ma'am. This is just small gestures from our side to show our gratification to you. Mr. P.S. Sodhi, thank you so much for being a part of this wonderful session, sir, and this international conference. Mr. Ramnath Vaidyanathan, you all have made this a really enlightened one. Dr. Rachna Arora, thank you so much. May you please have a group photograph of all of you, because now Madam Poonam Parihar has also joined. So let's have a group photograph. Yeah. And for all you delegates, once again I would like to tell you that please do download the mobile application of Mobius ICSE 2025. There you can get all the details. And please let's have a round of applause for the panelists over here. So please do download that mobile application. There you are going to get all the details about the speakers, all the details of these program, and you'll also get the pictures of this program only over there. So please do download that mobile app. And this is to inform you all that post lunch the certificates of the delegates shall be available at the registration counter. So you can collect it post lunch for all the delegates. Your certificates, you can collect it post lunch from the registration counter. Right now it's the time for the tea break, but please be back very quick, because then we are going to have the fireside chat with none other than Mr. Pradeep Burman from Mobius Foundation. So my dear friends, please have a tea break and we'll see you on the other side. Thank you so much.